Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's first stream news summary from Moscow program. It is 3rd of November. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time. And as always, even though it seems like morning is a bit slow news wise, but nevertheless, I did prepare the number of news for you for this update. Hopefully, you will find it informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please like the video and leave some commentary. This might help to deal with the algorithm. And also, after this news update, I might make like 1 or 2 short videos from this stream, and I will publish those videos. And if you come across those short clips, and if you have a time, please like those videos. It might help. That's been said, dear friends, without further delay, let's go through some news. And well, I will start with this report from RIA Novosti, which is based on Defense Ministry's latest update about work of air defense systems past night. So during the last night, from 11 p.m. yesterday late evening to 7 a.m. this morning on November 3rd, air defense systems on duty intercepted 64 drones that was launched by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. 29 drones were intercepted over the territory of Rostov region. Also 29 drones over the territory of Saratov region. And unfortunately, in Saratov region, according to some reports that I see, some energy facility was damaged. Maybe some drones managed to bypass air defenses, or maybe debris fail on that facility. But according to a number of reports in Russian segment of internet, there was some damage to energy facility in the Saratov region. If any updates on that, of course, later on I will share additional information. 4 drones were intercepted over the territory of Volgograd region, 1 drone over the territory of Belgrade region, 1 drone over the territory of Stavropol region. And this is, as I said, update of Defense Ministry. If any more information will become available about it, of course, I will share reports about it on my Telegram, Twitter X pages, or during the next updates. Also, dear friends, you might be surprised to hear this, but after failed attempt to brought some special forces near Pokrovsk, that happened according to different reports, either on 29th of October or 1st of November. I spoke about it yesterday. I even shared a video where these Black Hawk helicopters were landing. They landed troops, and then Russian militaries neutralized those incoming, basically, special forces of enemy quite quickly. And you might think that, well, lesson was learned by Russian enemy, and they would not repeat similar suicidal attack. But no, they did not learn no lesson, by the way. And we have this report today from Vzglyad newspaper that Russian armed forces stopped an attempt to land a new group of main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime near Krasnoarmeysk. Let me give you some details. Russian troops in the Krasnoarmeysk area repelled another attempt by main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime paratroopers to land, attacking the group and inflicting further losses on enemy, reported Igor Kimakovsky, advisor to the head of the DPR. And let me show you area, by the way, where Kiev regime tried to land its special forces this time. So during the previous attempt, a helicopter landed around here, this place that I'm pointing with the mouse, and several members of that special purpose unit was neutralized right in the field, and some of them did manage to enter this building, and they were neutralized inside this building with the drones, right? And I can once again right now show you video of that failed operation of the Kiev regime, in case some members want to see it and did not have the opportunity to view So this is the video. Take out sound. So on your screen, you can see UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter that landed the special purpose unit. According to reports, this is a special purpose unit of main intelligence directorate of Kyiv regime. And then Russian drone operators that were monitoring the situation began neutralizing enemy troops one by one, basically. And as I said, some of them were neutralized in the fields, and some did manage to reach that building that I show you on the map. But Russian drones enter building too, and well, then fate of those so-called special forces were sealed. And yesterday, I did express my doubts that this was actually unit or special purpose unit of Main Intelligence Directorate, or GUR, of Kyiv regime, because after so many years of high intensity conflict, probably they learn thing or two, right? And they know what can be done and cannot be done. And that's why yesterday I shared my opinion, and this is pure speculation on my part, dear friends, that maybe this unit was not actually from a main intelligence directorate, but from Western secret services, right? Or militaries. Maybe it was a SAS unit or French foreign legionnaires. Just recently, you know, dear friends, Russian foreign intelligence directorate reported, foreign intelligence service reported that Macron ordered its militaries in France to prepare 2,000 strong expeditionary corps to deploy on Kyiv-controlled territory. And according to Russia's foreign intelligence service, at least forward units of that 2,000 group was already deployed in Poland, not far away from border with Western Ukraine. And well, if those troops were already in Poland, then why would not, can we speculate that maybe those troops actually entered the Kyiv-controlled territory? And because they have no freaking idea what is going on the battlefield, what a high-intensity conflict is, because let's say either SAS, by the way, or French foreign legionnaires, their main experience is coming from warfare that they were engaged in let's say, latest is Afghanistan, right? And Afghanistan was very different warfare compared to this proxy war that West is waging against Russia. And therefore, I think it is a possibility that those are either British militaries or special forces or French special forces could be that reckless, too emboldened, too hyped up, and that reckless that, you know, they said, you know what, let us go in towards Pokrovsk and do our thing. And maybe it was those NATO troops, actually NATO special forces, that landed there and were neutralized by Russian forces. Soon, I guess, once whole Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration is liberated, I guess Russian military investigators will enter this area of landing of this whatever special forces of enemy, and we will learn some more. Because usually militaries have some specific tattoos. They might not have any documents on them, but usually they have some tattoos or something that will give us knowledge. They are from where, approximately, right? But as I said, whichever units were landed a few days ago, they did not learn the lesson, and they try again to conduct this landing operation. And this time they landed in the same direction, but little bit far. So earlier landing place was here, and now they landed in this area, approximately, right? According to reports in Russian segment of internet, and Russian militaries once again were monitoring the situation, tracking movement of this hostile group, and open fire and neutralize number of these, or maybe all of them, of these special forces. I have not seen a video of this yet, but maybe today during the day, some military channels will share videos of that incident, and of course I will show you that video in next updates. So yes, Kiev regime and its NATO backers are sending their special forces now to somehow unblock, to somehow try and unblock Kiev regime's garrison in Pokrovsk Mirnograd agglomeration, and I don't think they're gonna succeed in that. I really don't think so. Only way Kiev regime's forces can escape from Pokrovsk Mirnograd is if there is some behind closed door talks between Kiev and Moscow, and if Kiev will ask Russian side to let their troops out without weapons, without anything. Well, for maybe for humanitarian purposes, I don't know, Russian side will consider such a move. That will, of course, minimize casualties on Russian side too, right? Because we are talking about 5,000 plus enemy troops that are encircled now in Pokrovsk Mirnograd, and to deal with these 5,000 armed, well-armed grouping of forces, even in encirclement, well, it will take time and it will cause casualties, right? So, as I said, maybe there will be some behind the closed door negotiations, and this encircled group will be allowed to escape without weapons, without anything. If not, then they are doomed, man. And only chance they have to save their lives is to contact Russian militaries, arrange a safe surrender, and that's it, really. Save their lives, right? And Russian president, during the recent meeting with the commanders of the Russian armed forces, was very clear in his orders to protect all the basic rights of the POWs. Right, so these POWs, especially ones that are forcefully mobilized, I mean, they will be treated according to Geneva Convention, 100%. Members of neo-Nazi formations, well, they might experience little bit different treatment because neo-Nazi formations are designated as terrorist organizations, and Geneva Convention is not applied for terrorists, right? But regular troops, that's a whole different story. So that's what is happening in Pokrovsk Mirnograd direction. There is attempts of Kiev regime to somehow create a corridor for its encircled troops to withdraw, but they are failing time after time, and maybe they will continue these suicidal attempts, right? Suicidal landing operations with the helicopters until Russia will just shut down those helicopters. And because in just past several days, there was several instances already when helicopters were deployed. Maybe, I mean, it makes sense to give, I don't know, a couple of hundred of Strela as portable air defense missiles, right? Analog of the Stinger, by the way, American Stinger. Maybe it makes sense to give the troops like hundreds of these Strelas, and they will try to take out those helicopters, even though they are flying very low. But nevertheless, it can be done, right? So that's quite interesting, I think, development. Another group of Kiev regime's, formerly Kiev regime special forces, were neutralized after landing in Pokrovsk direction. Also, their French TASS news agency is reporting that Ukrainian soldiers surrendered in the Kupiansk area, and process continues. More and more troops are surrendering, which is definitely good news. Let me show you on the map. Kupiansk is, of course, another area where about 5,000 enemy troops are encircled. This is Kupiansk, by the way, and literally every day, some units of Kiev regime, this encircled grouping of Kiev regime, is trying to escape to reach Oskol River that divides city in two. And one of the latest attempts of some Kiev regime's troops to escape the encirclement while moving towards Oskol River was just in previous 24 to 48 hours. And after taking heavy casualties, this group was forced to go back to their original positions. They still don't understand that they are encircled, right? And some of them at least. and they still don't understand that best way to save their lives is not to try to escape, because in that case there is a high chances that Russian militaries will spot them and will neutralize them. Best way to save their lives is to contact Russian side and arrange safe surrender. That's what they should do. Especially, once again, especially militaries that are forcefully mobilized, that are regular troops and not did not committed no war crimes against civilians, right? Yet again, uh, neo-Nazi formations and foreign mercenaries are a different story. Geneva Convention is not apply on them, but regular combatants, yes, they should use opportunity to surrender, of course. And also, dear friends, I saw this video and I want to share with you. Right now, you might not recognize on your screen what you see, but it's a it's a tank. That's what modern warfare did to main battle tanks. By the way, this modern warfare, when these FPV drones are just all over the places, right? Tanks turned into some armored hedgehogs, and I have a video to show you. It's I mean, if this is not a confirmation that era of tanks, era of main battle tanks are finished, then I don't know what this actually is. I think as time goes by, armies all over the world will move more like towards heavily armored transport vehicles, and also assault guns. Assault guns used to be a thing, isn't it, during the Second World War and a decade or two after. But then assault guns were replaced completely. And I think these heavily armored assault guns are going to be back, right? Because tanks are obsolete, by the way. Tanks are obsolete. And let me show you this video, dear friends. Just look at this. I mean, this is tank, right? Let's start video from the beginning. Just take a look. How tankers are getting in. You're gonna get injured just while trying to get into this vehicle, right? And of course, this installation protects vehicle 100%. It does protect vehicle, but I mean, this is the end of tanks, man. My personal opinion, dear friends. I don't know what you think, but let's watch it once again. What the hell is this, man? There was always speculations that era of tanks are finished, especially after attack helicopters or helicopter gunships become a thing, right? After further enhancement or developments of anti-tanker guided missiles, but tanks never actually fade away, I think, until now. FPV drones gonna make and already did make tanks obsolete, man. Share your opinion, dear friends, what you think. But this is Russian tank. This is Russian, I guess, T-72. It's hard to even tell which tank is this. It's either T-72 or maybe T-80, maybe even T-90. You just cannot tell because it's like turned into this armored hedgehog, right? So something interesting. But I think era of tanks are definitely finished, by the way. Assault guns gonna become a thing again, I think, and heavily armored transport vehicles to carry troopers, right? Anyways, let's continue with some other news, dear friends, now. And next is this report from TASS News Agency that, according to announcement from Kyiv regime, they receive a Patriot, yet another Patriot battery from Germany. So Zelensky himself announced that Kyiv regime has received the new Patriot air defense systems from Germany. No specifics, how many batteries, 1, 2, 3. But Germany did promise, isn't it? 5 or 6 Patriots, and there are 2 supposed to be delivered this year, and maybe this is exactly those 2 Patriot air batteries that Germany promised to deliver before end of 2025. Could be there, could be the case, of course, and hopefully Russian military intelligence is tracking movement of these Patriots, and as soon as they will, you know, they will be deployed there, Russian Iskanders will take care of it. Russian Iskander missiles or some other weapons, right? Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that, interesting article was published in one of their American US media outlets, conservative, very interesting and dangerous, I will say also, because according to American conservative reports, NATO is discussing a dangerous option for supporting Kiev regime. And we have quote here, reckless proposals to establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine and shut down even Russian aircraft entering the country's airspace are currently circulating in influential circles. In NATO article notes that the US and NATO officials must abandon their delusional notions of Kiev's victory and accept the reality, however unpleasant, that if the conflict continues, Moscow will ultimately prevail. The alternative is to risk World War III by turning NATO's current proxy war into a direct, full-scale conflict with Russia. The American conservative writes, and this is, of course, very dangerous stuff, by the way. And of course, this media outlet, or so-called media outlet, American Conservative Reports, is a Western media outlet, and we should take any information from Western media with a pinch of salt, mountain of salt, right? But if we keep in mind that after all those false flag operations that NATO countries conducted with the alleged Russian drones and planes and so on, violating NATO's airspace, NATO countries deployed significant number of their planes, right, close to Russian border. They already had a significant number of planes there anyways, and they increased number of those planes, right? And my reading of the big picture was that this is a preparation of our NATO or collective Western elites for next phase of escalation against Russia, which will include potentially even attempt of decapitation strike on Russian Federation, on Russian military and their political leadership, or simultaneous large-scale drone and missile strikes, unprecedented scale drone and missile strikes, massive terrorist attacks, when assets of the Western secret services are activated on Russian territory. And unfortunately, they do have assets, and this can be confirmed by reports from Russian security services when they are literally on daily basis neutralizing all sorts of terrorist groups that were planning terrorist attacks, right? Mainly under the orders of Kiev regime. But when we say Kiev regime, that means NATO, right? And obviously, they are not revealing all of their assets, and there is a high risk, unfortunately, that they still have assets here that they can use for large-scale sabotage terrorist attacks, right? And they will simultaneously, during this first phase of attack, probably conduct a large-scale, unprecedented scale cyber attack on Russian Federation to create situation of sort of absolute chaos, right? They will fail, I'm quite sure about it, but it does not mean that they're not going to try. And one of the ways they might also escalate could be very much introduction of so-called no-fly zone over their Kiev-controlled territory, let's say, or whatever they are calling Ukraine. And of course, in that case, I mean, if this next phase of escalation is launched, by the way, we are in full scale, maybe not full scale, but we are in direct conflict. Russia and NATO at that point are in direct conflict. And will this conflict transform into full-scale war or not is anybody's guess. But out of desperation, globalists and their allies, neocons, Zionists, and the rest, they might go any length, by the way, because they are just too desperate, right? And therefore, I think this report from American Conservative is worth our attention. Maybe NATO countries will actually go ahead, or countries of coalition of willing, let's say, that are also NATO member states, but sort of separated themselves, isn't it? That we are like operating separately, not as a NATO, but as a coalition of willing. Maybe that coalition of willing will try to introduce no-fly zone. Who knows? But in any case, of course, this next phase of escalation, if it's launched, and I'm afraid it will be launched, of course, will mean direct conflict between NATO and Russia, open conflict between NATO and Russia, and the only question at that point will be scale. Will it be full scale, which will mean end of humanity on this planet, or it will be like, I don't know how direct open conflict between NATO and Russia may not turn into a full-scale war, but maybe it will be limited exchange of fire or something, and because Russia will have no option after this next phase of escalation is launched by NATO, but to retaliate, and with such a force and scale that will shock globalists and Western elites in general. Because of that, maybe they will quickly realize that they have actually lost. I mean Western elites, and maybe they will actually begin de-escalating to save their freaking lives. Not because they care about anyone else, but to literally save their lives. Could be the case, but unfortunately, we have more and more indicators that this next phase of escalation is sort of inevitable at this point. Yet again, because of this insanity of the Western elites and their desperation that they themselves cause for them, right? It's Western elites that launched this proxy war, and they're gonna pay price now for that, right? Meanwhile, many military experts were suggesting that for this next phase of escalation that I'm talking about quite constantly, US might deploy some additional long-range weapon systems, including ATACMS missiles, and I would not be surprised at all if those ATACMS already are actually transferred to Europe, or maybe even are somewhere on Kiev-controlled territory. Who knows, by the way? You cannot trust anything that comes out from Western elites, right? And their governments that they control in the West, including US. But recently, as I reported, the Pentagon has officially cleared their transfer of long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Kiev regime, leaving the final decision on US President Trump. And he was asked about it, if he's considering to transfer Tomahawks to Kiev regime. And I can give you his short but quite direct answer. But yet again, can we trust him? That's the question, by the way. And that's what he said.
Are you going to use those as a negotiating tool? What's Europe saying on the frozen Russian assets? So are you planning?
Is this a totally different question than Nigeria is, right?
Different.
That was quite a turn. I'm not doing that. What happens is, I guess, Europe and Russia are having discussions. I'm not involved in those discussions.
Will your administration provide Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles? Is that something that you're not considering that?
No, not really. Could happen. I could change, but at this moment, I'm not.
What would be the final straw for you that prove that Putin is really not?
So you see, his answer was not really. He's not considering transferring Tomahawks, although he's also acknowledging that, well, his take might change, right? His take might change, and it can. But yet again, Tomahawks, by the way, I mean, when it comes to Tomahawk missiles, Western so-called elites are unable to learn the lessons, isn't it? How many times they presented these Western weapon systems as a sort of game changers, and they always were wrong, right? Russian militaries proved them wrong every single time, and their Tomahawks are no any different. main reason why Russian side pays attention to Tomahawk is that it can be nuclear tipped, right? And when we are engaged in a war with NATO, by the way, it's entire NATO with maybe a few exceptions, right? That are financing this war and they're sending their special forces, weapons, everything, right? When you are engaged in such a conflict, who gonna give you guarantees that some of those Tomahawk missiles, if they are launched, not gonna have a nuclear warhead? That's the issue, and Russian leadership was very clear on that. That this is it's not a Tomahawk itself, but it's a potential that those missiles can be tipped with the nuclear weapons. Otherwise, for Russian air defense systems, it does not really make much difference. They're gonna shut down British Storm Shadow, French Scalp EG, or US Tomahawk, right? Or US ATACMS, for example, that Russian militaries intercepted like hundreds of times, right? According to reports, 500 ATACMS were launched against Russia already, which is crazy, isn't it? And some reports are suggesting that US don't even has now stockpile of those ATACMS, right? And that's why all this talk began about transferring to Kiev regime, JASSM, cruise missiles, ATACMS cruise missiles, some other long-range weapon systems, because they just don't have ATACMS no more left, right? Maybe a couple of dozens, I don't know. But their stockpile is being depleted seriously in US, right? So at this point, Trump says no ATACMS for the Kiev regime. Can you trust him? I have some doubts about it, but let's see. Let's see. What I do know, or what I think, at least, I cannot know for sure. Obviously, I cannot see the future, but what I think is that unfortunately, next phase of escalation is inevitable at this point. It seems to me, and we should be ready. We should be ready as much as we can. I mean, Russia, right? That's it. Whatever they're gonna throw at us, we have to be ready to deal with it, and we have to strike back with such a force, intensity, and scale that will finally force globalists, Western so-called elites, to come to the negotiating table and sign up capitulation. That's how it is. And I said quite a number of times, dear friends, that this conflict will end when Russian troops, it is highly possible, I think, that this conflict, high intensity conflict, military phase of it, will end when Russian troops will reach borders of the Western Ukraine. Rest is going to be liberated 100%. At this point, I don't even have doubts, by the way, that Rest is going to be liberated, including Kiev, by the way. Of course, earlier, if you ask me a year ago or 2 years ago, I will say, you know what, most likely Ukraine will undergo full-scale disintegration, and western parts of Ukraine will be reclaimed. Poland, Hungary, and Romania. The rest of the territory, maybe with the exception of Kiev and surrounding couple of regions, will eventually join Russian Federation after referendums and so on, as it was done in Russian new regions. But and I was acknowledging that there is a possibility, slight chance, that Moscow would agree that Kiev and surrounding couple of regions will maintain quasi-statehood on the political map under their exclusive zone of Russian influence, completely free from the West, right? But now, if you ask me now, I will say there is not even a slight chance that there will be Ukraine left on the political map after this conflict will end. No, if West wants to keep such a quasi-state under such name, Ukraine, then they can do it in Western Ukraine, if they want to. But Poland, Hungary, and Romania might have a different opinion on that, right? Because most likely, whenever they will have an opportunity, they will reclaim their former territories. And I'm saying, dear friends, that Russian troops probably will stop on the borders with the Western Ukraine, because everything east of Western Ukraine is historical Russian. land. Kiev was the capital of Russia, by the way, at some point, right? And one of the oldest Russian cities, actually. And also, by the way, when it comes to Western Ukraine, historians might argue that, you know what, Western Ukrainians are historical Russian land too. And this is, historically speaking, this is accurate. Originally, by the way, Western Ukraine, majority of the population were Russians, right? But in last 3 to 5 century, demographics have changed significantly, right? And because these areas were under the occupation of Poland, Hungary, Romania, and so on, at this point, locals in the Western Ukraine, I don't think considering themselves to be, majority, I don't think considering themselves to be Russians or members of the Russian world. So therefore, just not to look as an occupier. We don't want to be occupiers nowhere, right? We are now liberating historical Russian land and Russian people. And in Western Ukraine, just not to be seen as an occupier. We don't need that, right? That's why I think Russian troops will stop on the border with the Western Ukraine, and then let Poland, Hungary and Romania deal with Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists that turn Western Ukraine into their main stronghold. That's the fate of Ukraine, but Western Ukraine will eventually join NATO because it will be reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, and Romania, and the rest of their territory of this former Soviet republic will join Russian Federation. That's it. And they're going to be no Ukraine on the political map. As it should not ever exist, right? But it's a creation of Bolsheviks. Now, what you're going to do? Ukraine is a creation of Bolsheviks, right? After revolution, they created their Ukraine. Big mistake on their part, but it is what it is now. You're not gonna go back into history and change anything, isn't it? Anyways, let's continue with some other news, dear friends. And well, Trump spoke about nuclear tests. He gave an interview to 60 Minutes, I believe, and he was asked about these nuclear tests that he stated. And so let me give you a short video of what he said about these nuclear tests. I think, I don't have a video on that. Oh, I have a video, so.
Before your meeting with President Xi, you posted on social media that you instructed the, quote, Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons immediately. What did you mean?
Well, we have more nuclear weapons than any other country. I think we should do something about denuclearization. And I did actually discuss that with both President Putin and President Xi. We have enough nuclear weapons to blow up the world 150 times. Russia has a lot of nuclear weapons, and China will have a lot. They have some, they have quite a bit. But
so why
do
we need to test our nuclear weapons?
Well, because you have to see how they work. You do have to. And the reason...
He has no idea, isn't it, dear friends? Trump just has no freaking idea what he's talking about. And I guess my initial thoughts were correct. When he was briefed that Russia successfully conducted their tests of nuclear-powered cruise missile, nuclear-powered underwater autonomous vehicle, probably he misunderstood what he was told, and maybe in his, maybe he thought that Russia is conducting nuclear tests, and let's answer similar way, and he just went and said we're gonna start nuclear testing, and probably his advisors, all of them go crazy. I mean, what he's talking about, what nuclear testing? But now he's trying, and his administration, they are trying to save the face, right? And they are coming up with all sorts of crazy explanations why they're gonna do nuclear testing. They know those nukes work. American militaries, American scientists know perfectly well that those nuclear warheads that have been tested hundreds of times, by the way, are working well. Russian scientists, Russian militaries know that our nukes are working perfectly well. Let's hope we will never have to use it, but they do work, right? Chinese know their nukes are working in perfect order. So there is no need to conduct nuclear tests. After all our countries have supercomputers, right? And all their calculations, all their work that is needed, mathematical work that is needed to build a, let's say, new generation of nuclear weapons, thermonuclear weapons. All of this can be done on the supercomputers. There is no need to do actual physical nuclear tests, right? But yet again, now they are in a damage control mode, I guess, White House, Trump and his administration, and they are trying to explain themselves, but it does not work, isn't it? It does not really work.
I'm saying testing is because Russia announced that they were going to be doing a test. If you notice, North Korea is testing constantly. Other countries are testing. We're the only country that doesn't test, and I don't want to be the only country.
He is lying. I mean, no one country is testing nukes, brother. No one country. Last time nuclear test was conducted by North Korea. And North Korea is not even a part of a non-proliferation treaty, but last test North Korea did was like a decade ago, if I remember correctly. And right now, for many, many years, and at least major nuclear powers like Russia, US, China, let's, I don't know, can we call major nuclear power France and UK? I don't think so, but okay, let's count them too. Not India, by the way, Pakistan, none of them or none of us are doing no nuclear tests, physical nuclear tests. So Trump either misinformed or just lies to public. I don't know why. I mean, why he's doing this? I don't know, man. It's strange.
It doesn't test.
Are you saying that after more than 30 years, the United States is going to start detonating nuclear weapons?
I'm saying that we're going to test nuclear weapons like other countries do, yes.
But the only country that's testing nuclear weapons is North Korea. China and Russia are not.
And this so-called journalist, also has no freaking idea. North Korea is not testing no nuclear weapons. Last time they did it was like a decade ago, maybe. And if I remember correctly, it was, according to experts, they tested their like megaton warhead, and that's it. Since then, there was no nuclear tests conducted by North Korea.
No, Russia's testing nuclear weapons.
My understanding,
and China's testing them too. You just don't know about it.
No, man, no. Trump is lying. Trump has no freaking idea what he's talking about. They both actually don't know what they're talking about, Trump and this so-called journalist, man, from ABC, isn't it? This 60 Minutes. Anyways, let's listen to
that would be certainly very newsworthy. My understanding is what Russia did recently was test essentially the delivery systems for nuclear weapons, essentially missiles, which we can do that, but not with nuclear weapons.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. We're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do.
Come on, man. You cannot believe this stuff. Is Trump this misinformed? Unbelievable, man. First of all, let's be real here. If US is open society, then Russian society is like 10 times more open, right? Ultimately open. Because here, no, you're not going to be fired from your workplace and your business not going to be ruined if you express opinion that goes against this woke crazy mob, right? So I don't think U.S. society is any more open than we are, by the way. I really don't think so. We are very open and we can talk about anything and we can report about anything. I have how long now this channels, by the way, like 3 years plus. Have I ever self-censored myself? Nothing to say about no one is telling me what to say or whatever. No one cares, man, right? No one cares. But Trump still believes that Russia, modern Russia, is like Soviet Union when there was like a couple of media outlets and that's about it, right? All sorts of source of news. that people had. No, man. We are as free society and as polite and friendly society as it can get, man. So it is very unfortunate that a leader of this so-called free world, man, has no freaking idea what modern Russia is and how modern Russian society operates, man. This is very unfortunate and sad, man. What is he talking about? And yet again, if he believes that Russia is testing nukes, China is testing nukes, and that kind of stuff, man, this is just too bad, too dangerous, really, because based on this false understanding of the reality, he might actually do some crazy stuff, isn't it? He might actually go ahead and do some crazy stuff, man. This is just too freaking dangerous, but that's where he stands, and he has to be stopped, right? He has to be stopped, and the Energy Secretary of US actually made a statement about these testings, and well, he gave us a little bit more clearance on the matter. Although Trump might turn the table, right? And he might say, no, we'll do actual nuclear tests. But US Energy Secretary Chris Wright announced that Washington will conduct a series of subcritical nuclear explosions. These experiments involve nuclear materials, but stop short of triggering a chain reaction or actual nuclear blast. They are used to assess the reliability of warheads while formally staying within the international test ban limits. So that's what they might do. That's what they might do. They will not go all the way to conduct a nuclear test, to nuclear explosion, but they will do a subcritical explosion with some radioactive materials. I don't think Moscow and Beijing gonna like it, right? But okay, this is not a nuclear test, right? I guess it will stay in the limits of ban on nuclear tests, and that will be the way how Washington will save its face. But yet again, someone have to tell Trump. Someone have to explain Trump that. Come on, we don't need no nuclear explosions. We can calculate everything without explosions. And they don't even need these subcritical tests or whatever explosions. They can calculate literally everything. They need to. But in this damage mode now, they're going to go ahead and spend, I don't know, tens or potentially hundreds of millions of dollars to orchestrate this show for Trump, so that Trump will say, yeah, you see, I said we're going to do tests and we did it. This is not the way, man, countries should operate, especially superpowers, man, nuclear superpowers. That US is also as some others, right? Anyways, let's continue. Your friends, Renault is reporting that Turkey will announce a decision on sending forces to Gaza this week, according to media reports. Turkey will announce its decision on the possible deployment of troops to Gaza Strip once specific circumstances are established, the presidential administration told the RIA Novosti. According to pro-government newspaper Turkey, the first results of negotiations on sending international forces to Gaza could emerge as early as this week. Ankara, according to a newspaper, expects to participate in the mission by sending search and rescue and engineering units to the region. And initially, by the way, Turkey was planning to send militaries too as a peacekeepers, but Israel was against it. And who knows, maybe Turkey will demand, maybe Erdogan will demand that Turkish troops have to be present in Gaza. Also, that will, of course, play big on nationalist sentiment in Turkey, and Erdogan and his camp are the nationalists, right? They are sort of trying to rebuild Ottoman Empire, and they're positioning themselves to be leading force in a Sunni Muslim world, right? Which makes Saudi Arabia very unhappy, and that's one of the reasons why relationships between Ankara and Riyadh are quite tense, to say the least, right? And who knows, by the way, maybe Turkey will use its connection with UK, right? Turkey is a British proxy, essentially, isn't it? So maybe Turkey will ask London to use its potential leverage. And when I say London, I mean globalists, because the British aristocracy, British political class, it's a main or most powerful force among the globalists, right? So Turkey might use its connection with London to actually be able to deploy its troops also, because, well, that will be truly historical for Turkish nationalists, historical day, if Turkish troops will, with their flags and all the stuff, will enter Palestine again. And I remind you, dear friends, Ottoman Empire was in control of that part of the world, right? Sometime in the past, until Brits arrived, basically, and until Ottoman Empire just collapsed, right? So maybe that's what Turkey wants, and in exchange, if London will help them, or if globalists will help them with that, well, what they gonna demand from Ankara? And I remind you, Keir Starmer was in Turkey just like last week, right? Recently. And what they might demand from Ankara? One thing is clear: they will demand from Ankara escalation with Russia, and Turkish leadership have to think good what they gonna do and what they not gonna do, because I don't think Turkey is in a position to escalate with Russia, because Russian troops once stop right on the outskirts of Constantinople, right? Unfortunately, brother of Russian emperor was leading their armed forces, if I remember correctly, and he asked actually emperor to allow troops to enter Constantinople and liberate Constantinople, and they were in a position to do so. But well, I guess the royal family was engaged, or emperor was engaged in some sort of talks with their British royal family at the time, and some sort of agreements were reached, and the emperor denied Russian troops this unique historical opportunity to be used, and Constantinople to be liberated. And Constantinople is, by the way, Greek city, right? It's a capital. Now it's known as Istanbul, but originally it's a Constantinople. It's a Greek city, great city, and it was a capital of Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantium, right, as it also known in the Eastern world. And so yes, Turkish leadership should think good before they will go ahead with the escalation with Russia, because this time around, things might be very different than during those historical times that I just mentioned. Who knows, man? Who knows? I think Constantinople should be liberated 100%, by the way. It's not a Turkish city, never was, never will be. It's a Greek city, and one of their foundational points of Orthodox Christianity, I will say, and has to be liberated. Personal opinion, by the way. That's what I think, right? In my personal opinion, emergence of Turkish Empire was a tremendous disaster for Orthodox Christianity, for Christianity in general, but especially for Orthodox Christianity, by the way. So I don't, I don't oppose ideas of liberating Constantinople, let's say this way. So yes, Ankara should be careful, man. Ankara should be careful there, because we know what London and what global is going to ask in return if they will assist Erdogan to bring its troops to Palestine. But let's continue anyways. Well, during that interview with the 60 Minute, Trump was also asked about Maduro, president of Venezuela, and well, he was quite clear that days of Maduro are numbered. Rather, he's basically indicating that U.S. will conduct a decapitation strike on Venezuela. I can give you short video of that too, and share your take, dear friends. Is Trump hinting there that U.S. gonna target Maduro personally, or I'm mistakenly interpreting his take? So let me find the video of that.
As president numbered.
I would say, yeah, I think so, yeah.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I wouldn't.
Why would
I
we
wouldn't
do
be
it?
inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike.
Let's listen once again. By the way, he's clearly hinting that they're going to be decapitation strike on Venezuela.
Are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah, I think so, yeah.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I wouldn't.
Why would
I
we
wouldn't
do
be
it?
inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike.
I mean, you already said that you're gonna strike, man. This Trump, man. He already said it, isn't it? Without saying it. So yes, Maduro and his government members, his military leadership or military leadership of Venezuela, they should be ready for what is about to happen. Once this Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group will arrive in the Caribbean, I guess at that point it will be a matter of potentially hours, maybe days, and we will see military assault on Venezuela done by US. And yet again, let's be real here in terms of capabilities. Of course, these are two countries from different leagues, right? US definitely is in a position to to destroy basically all the military bases of Venezuelan army that US militaries know about. US militaries are in the position, and intelligence services, to conduct successful, with high probability, successful decapitation strikes on political and military leadership. And they might even declare that Nobel Peace Prize winner psychopath, I don't even know her name, man, as a president of Venezuela or whatever. But if people of Venezuela are gonna fight, by the way, for the independence of their countries, then I really don't think US militaries can defeat them. If ordinary people of Venezuela are gonna fight for their freedom, then the US will fail. And Venezuela will turn into another Vietnam. But if people of Venezuela are so sick and tired of all the problems that they are dealing on daily basis, mostly because of the illegal Western sanctions and all the sabotage activity of the Western assets in Venezuela, but nevertheless, if people are sick and tired of everything, then, and if they would not fight, then US will recolonize Venezuela quite easily. Let's be real here, right? I will just remind you, dear friends, that according to some reports, there was already a couple of flights of their transport planes to Venezuela, planes that were linked to Wagner PMC earlier, which can be indicator that, Wagnerites are there, fighters of the Wagner PMC are there, and the question is, what is their mission? Are they gonna secure local leadership, political military leadership, or they gonna train them and prepare for potential fight. We will learn. We will learn. It all depends on the people. If people not gonna fight, then Wagnerites should leave immediately, right? But if people of Venezuela will fight, then Wagnerites definitely can help them big time, right? With their experience, by the way. I mean, of course they can help, right? So it's all up to people of Venezuela. Let's see what is going to happen. Seems like a U.S. attack on Venezuela is absolutely inevitable, and I don't know why no one is challenging Trump. By the way, this is illegal, right? He is about to start war against yet another country, and this is absolutely illegal. He never asked permission, Congress, to launch a war. What's going on in Washington, by the way? Are they all lost their minds? I don't know why Trump is putting in danger lives of potentially hundreds and even thousands of U.S. military personnel. Why he is doing this, or why neocons are doing this, right? Because according to reports, behind all this story of escalation in Latin America stands Marco Rubio. And when we say Marco Rubio, we mean neocons, right? Because he's a neocon puppet, by the way. Everyone knows about it. So let's see what is going to happen. But, no one is opposing Trump, and therefore probably they will go ahead and attack Venezuela. As if U.S. was not engaged in enough wars in past decades and decades, they're going to launch another one. It's insane, but, Also, dear friends, there was unrest in Serbia last night. So Serbian police have detained 37 suspects in connection with their unrest near their assembly building in Belgrade. The Interior Ministry press service announced, according to some reports, supporters and their opponents of the current government of Serbia clashed with each other. Also, police had to intervene. 37 individuals were arrested, and I guess global is not gonna stop. By the way, global is not gonna stop destabilizing Serbia until they will actually achieve a regime change, until they will put in position of power someone that will agree 100% with everything that comes from globalists, that comes from Brussels, and I'm afraid this seems to be direction that Serbia is headed. Vucic, by the way, and not let's not make mistake. Vucic is not anti-globalist or anti-EU. No, he is just refusing to obey orders in literally few points. When it comes to rest, he is doing whatever he's been told by the Brussels, right? There is 2 points that he is disagrees when it comes to orders that he is receiving from Brussels, and one is a recognition of Kosovo, right? And another is to isolate Republika Srpska and the leadership of Republika of Srpska in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is 2 main points. Some might say, well, there is a third one, sanctions on Russia, but and yes, I can understand logic behind this such a claim. Serbia did not impose on Russia no sanctions, but unfortunately, Serbia is supplying weapons to and munition to the regime. So therefore, I don't think for Vucic, this topic of sanctions is that important. He did not do anything really to stop weapons flow towards the Kiev regime through third parties, fourth parties, whatever. And Russian Foreign Intelligence Service twice made statements about involvement of Serbian military-industrial complex in arming Kiev regime, which is very sad, very unfortunate. This will, of course, not change our attitude to our Serbian brothers and sisters. They are our brothers and will be always, right? But this information definitely influence our attitude towards political class of Serbia, obviously. So that's how it is, man. And Brussels gonna put someone eventually in charge there. I'm afraid that will agree on a recognition of Kosovo's independence, will agree on isolation of Republic of Srpska, of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Maybe that new government, potential new government that Brussels might implement there, will also take some steps personally against Dodik, leader of Bosnian Serbs, and he's in an inner circle of the Dodiker. Very much possible, because Dodik is extremely popular, as far as I can tell. By the way, I'm not in Serbia, obviously, but based on reports that I have read about it, he is a very, very popular person among Serbs. Not just in Bosnia, but among Serbs in general, right? He's been seen by many as a leader that Serbs have to have, right? To move forward. But yet again, we will find out. Let's see how things develop. But, all I can say is I wish Serbian people all the best, man. Hopefully they will avoid some internal confrontation, at least, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russia has terminated its energy agreement with Finland on the Volksi River. So, in accordance with the Article 37 of the Federal Law of International Treaties of the Russian Federation, accept the proposal of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Russian Ministry of Energy to terminate Article 3 and 4 of agreement between the government of Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, this is an old agreement, by the way, and the government of Republic of Finland on the energy use of certain section of the Volks River, limited by the Svitogorsk hydroelectric power station and the Lmatra hydroelectric power station. Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin said in his decree. Furthermore, the head of government of the Russian Federation instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to inform the Finnish side that due to unilateral refusal to purchase Russian electricity, Moscow will no longer be required to supply compensatory energy under their contract as of April 4, 2022. So Finland is no longer going to receive Russian electricity as a sort of a compensation, because this agreement that I just mentioned, the agreement that was in place for a long time between Soviet government even and the Finnish government, is no longer valid, right? And this is all due to extreme anti-Russian policies of the Finnish government. By the way, it's all on them. It's all on them, right? Das News Agency is also reporting that, and yesterday, when it comes to Finland, by the way, in yesterday's report, I did share information that her Finnish border region, one of the border regions with Russia, which is closer to St. Petersburg than to Helsinki, that border region is suffering now with a high unemployment rate, which is about 15%, high, really high, right? And also, that region is losing approximately €1 million every single day, because borders are closed and the Russians are no longer coming to spend their money, right? What can I say, man? If anybody thinks these psychopaths that are in charge of Finland are thinking about Finnish people, then I have Mount Everest to sell to that someone, man. These are globalist puppets that have no care about Finnish people, man. Period. That's how it is, right? Das News Agency, meanwhile, is reporting that the head of Russian government, Mikhail Mishustin, is headed to China, towards China. So Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin will pay a 2-day visit to China. On November 3rd, the Russian Prime Minister will take a part in a 30th regular meeting of prime ministers of the two countries, to be held in the city of Yangzhou, with the participation of China's Prime Minister Li Qiang. Their main focus during the talks will be development of trade and economic cooperation, development of logistical connectivity and industrial cooperation, strengthening their energy partnership, and the expansion of cooperation in spheres of high technologies and agriculture. On the next day, Mishustin will be in Beijing, where they're meeting with the president of China, or leader of China. He is not a president, by the way. Why he being called president? He is not a president. He is a head of Communist Party. He is a chairman, right? He's a chairman C, not a president. But anyways, so he will, on 4th of November, Russian head of Russian government, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, will have a meeting also with Xi Jinping. Hopefully some good agreements will be reached between two sides to further enhance strategical level of cooperation between the two countries. This is all good, and I'm gonna end this update, this news segment, dear friends. On this news, Trump was kind of confronted by this journalist from 60 Minutes about government shutdown. You might not believe, but government still is in shutdown in US, by the way. It's insane, right? And when I was listening to this news, to this short video, by the way, I was a bit surprised to learn not about government shutdown, by the way, but about 42 million citizens of US that are on food stamps, man, that are receiving food as a sort of humanitarian aid or something. 42 million, and this is happening in the richest country in this world, and most powerful country, and most everything, as Trump loves to say. I mean, what's going on in US, man? Let me show you video, dear friends.
The longest shutdown in American history.
Democrats' fault.
Under your presidency, we're talking about more than 1 million federal workers who are not getting a paycheck, including our air traffic controllers. You see there's traffic snarls out at the airports now. Sure. This weekend, food aid for more than 42 million Americans is set to expire. What are you doing as president to end the shutdown?
All we're doing is we keep voting. I mean, the Republicans are voting almost unanimously to end it, and the Democrats keep voting against ending it. You know, they've never had this. This has happened like 18 times before. The Democrats always voted for an extension, always saying, give us an extension, we'll work it out. They've lost their way. They become crazed lunatics. And all they have to do, Nora, is say, let's vote.
So, by the way, 42 million. Let's listen this first part once again.
We are now approaching the longest shutdown in American history.
Democrats' fault.
Under your presidency, we're talking about more than 1 million federal workers who are not getting a paycheck, including our air traffic controllers. You see there's traffic snarls out at the airports now. Sure. This weekend, food aid for more than 42 million Americans is set to expire.
For more than 42 million Americans, food aid to expire this week. 42 million Americans are on food stamps and receiving aid to buy, to have a food. Is this correct numbers, by the way? Because I just don't understand how this can be. I really don't. What the hell, man? 42 million Americans are struggling so much that they are receiving humanitarian aid, food as a humanitarian aid. And this is happening in the richest country in the world. Wow. Wow, this is crazy, man. That's just crazy, man. This number cannot be correct, man. Is it true? I mean, members of our community from US, please write in the comment section. I mean, is this number correct? That's only reason I'm sharing this news. Otherwise, I know Trump gonna blame Democrats straight away. It's Democrats' fault, and Democrats gonna blame Republicans. It's their fault, right? I can see a comment right now. Alexander G is commenting, yes, 42 millions. It is correct. I mean, this is insane, man. I was really surprised. I knew there is a certain decline in the quality of life in US, and many people struggling. 42 million. This is I didn't expect that, man. I don't know how this can be, man. It's insane. But yes, government in US is still shut down. Let's hope all those 42 million people will have all the necessary aid that they need. But what Republicans and Democrats are doing, this is also extremely reckless, to say the least, right? Because they are harming ordinary people. They are harming ordinary people, and they are harming ordinary people in many ways, right? Including safety of the people, because according to reports that I read, and that journalist also mentioned, million workers, government employees are on many of them on free leave, right? There is situation is building up, negative situation among in the field of traffic control, right? Air traffic control, which is extremely dangerous, by the way. I saw reports that air traffic controllers, because they are not able to receive salaries, they are working now as a Uber driver, and they are delivering food and stuff, right? That means they've been exhausted, right? And they have to have a clear mind, by the way, when they are working as air traffic controllers. Nothing wrong to work in Uber or as a delivery, but these are air traffic controllers. If they get too tired, if they lost focus even for a second, by the way, that can cause a freaking catastrophe of the airplane, right? It's extremely dangerous. I don't know, man. This is nonsense. What is happening there, right? Anyways, dear friends, I will end this news segment on that term. Let me check. Rumble right now. Anya did not send me no notifications. I open Rumble now, and there is no super chat, so I did not miss super chat there. And let me check right now, Boosted, dear friends, just to make sure that I'm not gonna miss it. Nothing on Boosted, but yesterday, dear friends, right before I end the live stream, right after I end the live stream, not before, but right after I end the live stream, Anya sent me a message about donation on a PayPal with the question, and let me highlight that question now, if I may. It was from PayPal, so therefore I would not show picture, but I will read her. I would not show screenshot, but I will read her question. Patrick, thank you very much for $20 donation yesterday. And the question from Patrick was, how many Azov Nazi brigades are left there, and are they willing to fight the Russians? This is the question from Patrick. When it comes to brigades, it's 12 brigade, isn't it? 12 brigade that is called Azov Brigade, this neo-Nazi formation. Some are suggesting that certain 12 brigades are also neo-Nazi brigades of Azov, or similar to Azov, or 3rd and 13th. 12 is definitely Azov, right? And 3rd and 13th allegedly are also neo-Nazi formations like Azov. But if you are interested in overall status of the Nazi formations, it's not just Azov. Azov is just one of the many, right? There is also right sector neo-Nazi formation. One of the founders of that formation is an ethnic Hungarian, by the way, Jaros, right? And he was brainwashed so much so that he believes he is now, ethnic Ukrainian, and he forgot about his Hungarian roots, everything Hungarian. He maybe hates Hungary or something like that. And there is many cases like that, right? So there is a Kraken There is Donbass. That's names of the neo-Nazi formations. Also, right sector, Azov, you already mentioned, and there is few others. So there is quite a number of neo-Nazi formations, armed units. After 2014 coup d'etat, what happened in Kiev controlled territory was that all sorts of oligarchs began financing these neo-Nazi formations. And they were using those neo-Nazi formations as a sort of their leverage over the others, right? Over their competitors. And in many cases, they were deploying these neo-Nazi formations to take their enterprises from their opponents, right? That's how things were run. And time to time, these neo-Nazi formations were deployed against civilians in eastern Ukraine at the time, right? And there is documented cases of thousands of atrocities committed by these neo-Nazis, right? So there is several formations of Nazis. Azov is just most infamous, let's say, among them, right? But there are several of them. Azov, Donbass, Kraken, right sector, and a couple of more. And Patrick also asked a question, will they fight Russia? They are fighting against Russia. Usually these neo-Nazi formations are used as a blocking detachments, and they are executing Kiev regime's forces that are retreating or trying to surrender. But time to time, they are deployed on the front line too, especially Azov brigade. For example, quite often being deployed in different directions. Reports are that in Russian breakthrough area, for example, on north of Pokrovsk-Mirnograd, Azov formation was deployed, allegedly, right? So answer is yes. Will they fight against Russia? Yes, they will. They are fighting against Russia, but they will fight against Polish, Hungarian, and Romanian troops also when they will reclaim parts of Western Ukraine. They are Nazis, right? They are ethno-chauvinists, Nazis. They think about themselves as to be like Ukrainian, ethnic Ukrainians, right? Is non-existence ethnicity. Political Ukrainianism, okay, one might say roots are coming from, but ethnic Ukrainians, I mean, really? Since when? Ethnic Ukrainians are existing. There are no such a thing as ethnic Ukrainian, right? They are Poles, Hungarians, Russians, right? Others. As I said, one of the founders of right sector, one of the neo-Nazi formations there in the Kiev-controlled territory that was actively used during the coup d'etat in 2014 by Western Secret Services is Jarosz. That's his surname. Hungarian, by the way. Ethnic Hungarian. But he was quite sure that he was ethnic Ukrainian now, no longer Hungarian. That's how brainwashed those people are, and they will fight against everybody, including against Polish troops, Hungarian troops, and Romanian troops when they will enter Western Ukraine. But right now they are fighting against Russia. Yeah. So I did answer this question from Patrick. Once again, Patrick, thank you very much for your donation yesterday, $20 donation that was. And many thanks to everybody, dear friends, who participated in yesterday's big community chat and fundraising stream, and who supported, of course. Many thanks, sir. And I guess this is it for now, dear friends, for today's first live stream. I don't know about second one this evening. Let's see how they goes news-wise, and maybe later on today I will do second live stream. This is it for now. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, successful new week, and take care. Bye for now.